Natalia Aristimuño, responsible for the interoperability unit in DIGIT in the European Commission. And well, let's try to go through some concepts and ideas and see how interoperability can help in all these ongoing things everywhere, and I will try to guide you and see how we can enjoy and make our lives easier, even if we have a lot of challenges in front of us. So the first thing is, I wanted to take a bit of time to talk about innovation. I think this is a topic that is being discussed a lot, but very often from different angles. And you will see I will put this also in the context of the public services. I wanted to take a look a bit in depth on the innovation definition. And there you can see that innovation is not only about new ideas, but it also covers new methods. And I would like to emphasize this because I will talk afterwards about a lot on digital and technologies, but I want that we don't forget about the methods that may also be innovative. And it is not only having the ideas that we are then innovative, but it's also the use we do of them. So to really have the innovation in place, we have to have the ideas, we have to have the new methods, but we also have to use them. And I think that this is important because sometimes we just make our lives very complicated, trying to force the usage of technologies, while sometimes what we need to look at is about changing the way we do the things, for which technologies can help. And I will come develop this further later. So, well, we all know we are facing coming at a faster pace than before. The digital developments are really very fast, and well, as you can see, we have all been confronted to the COVID crisis, which has changed and in some cases accelerated innovation to support the continuation of our work and our lives. Now, this innovation, how we see it with digital, and I wanted to raise this question: is always digital a disruption? Because sometimes we see it and we say, okay, or do we always need to use digital technologies to bring innovation, or does the innovation using digital technologies mean always disruption? Just putting a lot of questions just to have a global thinking on all the instruments we have to move forward, and that sometimes we complicate our lives instead of trying to use them in a better way. So what does this mean, disruptive? Well, we have a lot of technologies or tools or instruments now coming or being more and more visible. Some perhaps not that new because, well, artificial intelligence is everywhere now. We are discussing about it in all domains, all places. What I can say is that as such, it is not that new because I studied it in the university some time ago. I won't say how long, but just to say that this is not as new as it seems. But on top of that, we have indeed other things like communication technologies. We are 5G coming, and we have the connectivity, and this is also a change on how citizens or how we intervene or we act in the society because of the connectivity. And well, we can see today we are sitting almost everywhere in the world while discussing together. So this is a big change. And could we say this is disruptive, or it has been very helpful to cope with the disruption of the crisis? We have also the computing infrastructure, so the high performance computing, the cloud. We are reaching incredible performance in computing. But we also have other elements. We have the distributed ledger technologies, blockchain, that have also brought new ideas on how we can trust, for example, organizations or not. This has, in this context, there have been a lot of discussions on the role of governments if they could just disappear because of blockchain. Just giving some thought there. We also have the Internet of Things, smart devices, all connected devices that citizens are very fast in grasping them and using them. We also have the evolution of the software development technologies and the services by using of APIs, much more integration, microservices around. But all these technologies, they are also providing, or we are also surrounded about a lot of data. It can be open data, and this we can discuss also later, geospatial data, but also all the data that is being produced. And in fact, I would say that none of these technologies alone is really disruptive. Is when we put them together. And in fact, why they are disruptive is because they are really helping us to find solutions to the new challenges from a different perspective. We are having new paradigms that help us solving the problems. I would also say that, and this is important, as I will come afterwards to the public sector, that it is disruptive also because the citizens, and we are also citizens, we embrace these technologies in a way that sometimes is not even foreseen, but this creates a different relationship between the citizens and the public sector. Everybody, or many people at home, they have like a smart home. They are very used about all the smartphones and everything, and we will see how public sector is replying to all this. So let's move then to the public sector innovation. And well, you can see here in the graph that it's not always easy to combine, or I would say sometimes we see a kind of contradiction in putting together public sector and innovation. And why that? Well, there are some barriers. We have seen that over the last years that there have been a lot of trials of innovation in the public sector. We are moving forward, but what has been seen is that innovation is not embedded in the design of public services yet. It's coming, but it's taking really a lot of time. Public sector is always slow in picking up these new technologies. Many reasons to that. Public sector by definition is quite risk adverse. Trying new things, new methods is always difficult. This is also because the governance around this is like old-fashioned and not taking into account the new ways of doing, but also the lack of resources. And why we are lacking resources? Well, we can talk also about the legacy and concentrated all the resources in doing the things the same way, while then we cannot have some of the resources to really invest in innovation, and we only do it in a very ad hoc way. And I have some ideas on how to improve that also that we can discuss later. But so I would like also to say that till now we were also talking a lot about digitalization of the public services. But I think we need more, because digitalization is not enough. We have to do it in a different way, because we all know that just digitizing something, it doesn't make it perhaps more user-friendly or citizen-centric. So we really need to bring the innovation in how we design the public sector services. And this will then bring not only efficiency, but also transparency, accountability, trust. This is something that we really need to work on that. And this is why when I'm talking about innovation on the public sector, for me, it's not only bringing inside the technologies, but also the way we think and we provide or design even those services. I would like also to because legacy, this is the word that is always used in a quite negative way, to prevent spending money in new technologies or innovation. But I wanted to share with you, because in fact, the graph you see there, I have asked some colleagues to help me in having some designs for the presentation. And I just gave some keywords so they could build something. And I found this one very interesting on the legacy, because being an IT, I consider it always legacy from a very negative perspective. You know, legacy, it means old, it means it costs a lot, it prevents me to do new things, and I have to spend really a lot of money and resources on that. But looking at this, I thought, okay, but legacy means also something else. Legacy means also what we get from the past, all the good things and bad things, lessons learned, but also the good things that were there, but also this means that what I am doing now will become legacy later. So I have to make sure that I do it properly. And that is where I would like to inject the interoperability, because, okay, I'm the head of the interoperability unit, so I have to talk about it. But I wanted to say that interoperability is a key enabler to indeed put together all what I have been talking. So we have the legacy systems, which sometimes we can really be proud of them because they have been there for 20 years and they are working perfectly, and not always they are very costly. So we can choose also which legacy are good. They are very difficult to integrate with the new technologies, with innovation that we may bring. And that is where interoperability play a role in putting all these pieces of the puzzle together. So let's move and go a little bit on the interoperability part. So what does it mean, interoperability? Well, indeed, as I said, it helps to put together so that different organizations, systems can interact together. They can exchange, share information and knowledge. And as it is put here, it is not only at technical level, but is to exchange information, data, but even beyond, through between different organizations. And this can be between through the respective IT systems. So in the Commission, we have been working, and this is already for quite some years, in developing the European Interoperability Framework. And what is this about? Well, I think some of the audience know it very well, but nevertheless, I think it's very important to repeat it and to spread this concept as largely as we can. So this is a conceptual model which explains how interoperability can help in the creation of public services, but also can guide the private sector interacting with the public authorities. This model, it is based in 4 layers that you can see here, because we look at the interoperability from an holistic way. And well, I think that whenever we talk about interoperability, everybody has the first thing about technical interoperability and how we make sure that 2 systems talk to each other. This is kind of the one that have been worked the longest, and I would say there are some challenges there, but they are quite covered. Then we have the second layer, which is on semantic interoperability. Well, there has also been a lot of work done for quite some time, but this is getting more and more important. And if you remember, when I talked about data before, about AI, and putting together data, AI, and the high power computing together to give answers to our questions. But this means that we have to make sure we understand the concepts in the same way. That's why it is key to have semantic interoperability, that we interpret the concepts in a similar way. Now, with the new technologies, it has been proven also that the 2 last layers I'm going to talk now are more and more important. Organizational interoperability means how we can agree on this exchange of information, of data, of knowledge between 2 institutions, 2 services. This sometimes we have seen that you have the technical layer solved. Semantic, agreed. We know that when we talk about a person, we have a clear definition of what a person is, and we can work with that. But then we end up having a problem on how to exchange this information, for example, between, let's take the health ministry and transport ministry, where some of these exchanges could be very useful to offer better services to the citizens. There we have to find ways to work together through agreements and recommendations on how to do that. One step up, the legal interoperability. And I think that with the COVID crisis, this has been put forward very, very, very clearly because there were solutions that were ready, but there were legal consequences, and we could not share the information because, for example, we had a law which explicitly indicates that we cannot share this data, or that we have to use this specific format or this specific tool, which prevents indeed to have this innovation or these exchanges. So that's why legal interoperability is key, and it is very important to take into account this whenever we are drafting or renewing our legislation. And all this needs to be coordinated. Now, the way we have provided this model was also with the support of some principles that need to be followed whenever we are doing a new service. And here you can see that they all help in getting better services for the users. You can see the openness, transparency, reusability, user centricity. But what is important also to mention is that we don't forget, for example, about security and the technological neutrality. And now that we are moving so fast with new technologies, these principles are very important to be applied. So we can innovate, we can move forward to use new technologies, but if we have into account and in mind while designing these new services, these principles, we will make sure that we will be interoperable and we will be able to interact and to make it accessible to other services. Then I would like just to give small words on the program that we have to help us implementing and supporting the member states and beyond in the implementation of this framework. So we have the ICEGOV program, which indeed is supporting the digital transformation of the public sector, facilitating the deployment and use of digital technologies. So you see this program is 5 years old, but it had already all the ingredients to facilitate this transformation of the public sector. And this has helped in different ways. It has looked at the interoperability from an holistic way. So getting into account or taking into account the 4 layers I explained and looking at all the different principles. Something which I think it's very important also is that this is cross-border, cross-sector, and this is very, very important. Being the silos on domain or being the silos on the territory, if we want, because we are in a very global world, and we have to really make sure that we can exchange the information in the right way and using having the user at the center. But also we have been supporting with the recognition, creation of interoperability solutions that are open source and can be reused by anybody. So we are really promoting the reuse of not only the solutions, but also the frameworks or the technical specifications that we may issue. But also we help to define these different way of thinking also in the different administrations. So this is just to give you a very, I won't read all the different solutions that are there, but we are covering very, very different domains because interoperability is important in all the domains, being it from e-procurement to health or to legislation drafting, as we already discussed, but we are also supporting the interactions with the citizens and supporting the e-democracy, as we can call. So you can see that it is very broad, and by having this open strategy and this sharing and reuse, we can really put together all these pieces and offer this to the public administrations to make the transformation easier. Now I wanted to mention something that we have done, so more specifically on the innovative public services. So I was talking about innovation and disruptive technologies. And here I wanted to say, because, well, and Gianluca may have some information about it, I think, but we have seen that it is important to look at how innovation is being implemented in the public services, not only on from a technological perspective, but also how it is really implemented, which are the use cases where this is used, and more importantly, how we can make sure that this is shared, that the lessons learned and the trials are well shared, so others don't need to start from a blank page each time, but they can also look at the experience of other administrations and improve the services afterwards. So you will see there are studies that help in that perspective. Now, I haven't mentioned it yet, but if you look the ICEGOV program, I say it's 5 years old, which means that it comes to an end this year. that was foreseen. So what will happen next year? Well, next year, as you may all be aware, we will have a new multi-annual financial framework. This is being negotiated still, so we don't have all the details adopted yet. We don't know how much budget will be really at the end available for each of the programs. Nevertheless, we have been working to have a program which will be the Data Europe program. I don't want to go in all the details of the Data Europe program. The Data Europe program has 5 specific objectives, and you will see it covers the HPC, AI, cybersecurity, digital skills, and the last specific objective is the one that you can see in detail in this slide, where you can find the interoperability, which means that the work that was started under ICE Square will be continued and will be improved in the Data Europe program. So there we will continue the work, and you have seen, for example, we will try to move also to GovTech incubator, how we can combine private and public sector, putting together to make a better use of the technologies and offering better services to our citizens. But we are not only working on that, we are also working on a revision of the European Interoperability Framework. So the framework had the obligation to be revised to see what was the value that it was bringing, but it has been even strengthened on what we need to do, because in the communication that was done in February, both on the Shaping Europe's Digital and also the European Data Strategy, there has been a request to have a strengthened European interoperability framework. And just to close my presentation, I would like to invite you all to contribute to this evaluation and to propose ideas for a future EIF, which will be even better than what we have now. And there will be public consultations coming beginning of next year, so stay tuned and help us in improving it. Thank you very much.